Welcome to the Third Citizen. What if the very tools designed to connect us are subtly but profoundly isolating us, reshaping our understanding of community and even our sense of self? Today, we delve into the paradox of modern connection, exploring how our hyper-connected world, while promising proximity, often delivers profound solitude, and how we might reclaim authentic community in an age of manufactured intimacy. We live in an era where connection is omnipresent. Our phones buzz with notifications from hundreds, perhaps thousands of digital contacts. We traverse virtual landscapes, share intimate details with global audiences, and are constantly updated on the lives of people we have never met. Yet beneath this glittering surface of incessant digital chatter, a quiet crisis brews. A growing number of us report feeling more alone, more misunderstood, more fragmented than ever before. We are the most connected generation in human history, and simultaneously, many of us feel like the most disconnected. This isn't just a subjective feeling. Data from surveys across the United States of America and beyond consistently show rising rates of loneliness, even in densely populated urban centers. This week, we are not just going to lament this reality. Instead, we will peel back the layers of this modern conundrum. We will draw upon the timeless wisdom of philosophers like Aristotle, who understood community not as a collection of individuals, but as a shared pursuit of the good life, where true connection is forged through common purpose and meaningful engagement. We will explore modern psychological insights into social cognition, attachment theory, and the neurochemistry of belonging, examining how our brains are wired for deep, sustained bonds that digital interactions often fail to replicate. We will critically examine the architectural choices of our digital platforms, the algorithms that nudge us towards performative lives, and the economic incentives that prioritize engagement over genuine human flourishing. And we will ask, is there a way to harness the incredible power of technology without surrendering our deepest human need for authentic, resonant connection? Can we, as the Third Citizens, cultivate pockets of true community, both online and offline, that resist the gravitational pull of superficiality and isolation? Join me as we navigate this complex terrain, seeking not simple answers, but powerful frameworks to understand, and ultimately, to rebuild the bridges that truly connect us. The economic pulse of the United States of America offered a stark reality check this past week, revealing a labor market that is not merely cooling, but arguably seizing up in critical areas. Only 22,000 new jobs were added in August, a figure dramatically below even the most conservative expectations. This isn't just a statistical blip, it represents a significant contraction in the engine of the national economy. The unemployment rate consequently ticked up to 4.3%, prompting a swift reevaluation by market observers and policymakers alike, with many now anticipating aggressive interest rate cuts by the Federal Reserve to stimulate a flagging economy. What makes this downturn particularly concerning is its widespread nature. Almost every major industry sector reported flat or declining job numbers, painting a picture of broad-based economic deceleration. This isn't a localized recession. It's a systemic slowdown that challenges the comfortable narratives of resilience and robust growth we have heard for so long. The sole outlier, perhaps tellingly, was the healthcare sector, which continues its relentless expansion. This divergence begs a deeper inquiry. Is healthcare's growth a sign of a healthy society, or a symptom of an aging population with increasing medical needs, or even an unchecked expansion of a vital but often inefficient system? The answers to these questions are not simple, yet they highlight a fundamental shift in where and how value is being created in our modern economy. This economic fragility is not occurring in a vacuum. It intersects with other profound challenges. This very week, the simmering tensions surrounding immigration enforcement boiled over with a major immigration and customs enforcement raid at a Hyundai plant in the state of Georgia. Nearly 500 workers were detained, the vast majority identified as South Korean nationals. This operation, massive in scale and deeply disruptive, immediately escalated into a diplomatic incident, with the government in Seoul describing the actions as an unjust infringement on its citizens' rights. The swiftness and severity of the raid, particularly targeting a major international corporation, sent shockwaves through the local community and beyond, triggering public protests against immigration and customs enforcement tactics and raising urgent questions about due process and human dignity. Here we encounter a profoundly complex intersection of economic need, national sovereignty, and individual rights. On one hand, the state asserts its right to control its borders and enforce its laws. On the other, these raids disrupt the lives of hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals and families, often pulling them from their livelihoods and communities without warning. The economic implications are equally thorny. A major multinational corporation, a significant employer, finds its operations disrupted, raising questions about its own culpability in hiring undocumented workers, and the larger ecosystem of labor that exists in the shadows of the formal economy. Are these individuals exploited for cheap labor, contributing to the very economic pressures that lead to calls for stricter enforcement? Or are they simply seeking opportunity where it can be found, fulfilling roles that others might not, and contributing to the economic fabric in ways that are often unacknowledged until such a dramatic intervention? The juxtaposition of a weakening job market and aggressive immigration enforcement forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about our societal values. When jobs are scarce, the rhetoric around immigration often hardens, yet the reliance on certain labor pools persists, revealing a deep-seated contradiction. How do we, as a society, balance the rule of law with compassion, economic pragmatism with ethical responsibility? These are not abstract philosophical debates. They are lived realities for the workers detained, for the communities affected, and for the nations engaged in diplomatic friction. The events of this past week compel us to look beyond the headlines and examine the intricate, often painful, tapestry of our economic and social compact. Shifting gears, we turn now to the intricate landscape of health policy and the ever-evolving dance of international relations, both of which presented profound challenges and startling developments this past week. In the realm of public health, the figure of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., now the United States Health Secretary, found himself at the center of a contentious Senate hearing over vaccine policies. His defense of his actions, amid intense scrutiny, highlights a fascinating and deeply concerning paradox of our time. Here we have a high-ranking official, entrusted with the nation's health, whose past public statements and current approach stand in stark contrast to long-held scientific consensus on vaccination. This situation forces us to confront not just the specifics of vaccine policy, but the very nature of expertise, trust, and the democratic process in an age of polarized information. How do we distinguish between legitimate scientific inquiry and politically charged skepticism when the lines between them are deliberately blurred, and when the institutions we rely on for objective guidance appear to be in flux? Indeed, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, a bedrock institution of public health, found itself embroiled in its own internal turmoil. New vaccine panel appointments and significant leadership changes signal a period of profound reorientation. Is this a necessary recalibration, a move to incorporate diverse perspectives and address past criticisms, or is it a symptom of politicization eroding the very foundation of scientific independence? The answers to these questions will profoundly shape not only our response to future public health crises, but also the confidence the public places in the guidance they receive. It reminds us that truth, in the public sphere, is not merely discovered, but is also, to a significant extent, constructed through institutions and leadership. When those institutions waver, so too does our shared understanding of reality. In a striking counterpoint to these policy debates, a scientific study this week offered a glimpse into a potential paradigm shift in mental health treatment. highlighting the therapeutic potential of lysergic acid diethylamide, more commonly known as LSD, for generalized anxiety disorder. This research represents a significant challenge to decades of prohibition and stigma, suggesting that substances once demonized could hold keys to unlocking relief for pervasive conditions. It forces us to reconsider the societal narratives we construct around drugs, mental illness, and healing, and to ask how our past fears might have inadvertently constrained our progress. If such breakthroughs prove robust, they will not only revolutionize psychiatric care, but also demand a profound cultural re-evaluation of what constitutes medicine and what we are willing to explore in the pursuit of human well-being. On the global stage, the tectonic plates of power continued their relentless shift. At the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting in Beijing, United States President Trump delivered a truly remarkable and stark assessment, declaring that India and Russia were lost to China. This statement, delivered on the very soil of a rising superpower, is not merely diplomatic rhetoric. It signals a profound recognition, or perhaps resignation, to a dramatically reconfigured geopolitical landscape. For decades, the narrative of a unipolar, or at least United States-led world order has largely persisted. President Trump's pronouncement effectively dismantles that narrative, acknowledging a world where major powers like India and Russia are now charting courses that align more closely with Beijing's orbit than with Washington's. What does it mean for the future of global security and trade when the alliances that defined the last half-century begin to fray so openly? It suggests a multipolar world where influence is more diffused and where the struggle for power plays out across increasingly complex economic and strategic axes. This shifting balance is acutely felt in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. A European coalition demonstrating a growing agency and perhaps a desire to move beyond dependence on United States leadership proposed robust post-war security guarantees for Ukraine. This initiative underscores a collective European commitment to stability on its eastern flank, irrespective of the fluctuating political winds in Washington. Yet, even as these diplomatic efforts unfolded, the specter of escalation loomed large. Russian President Putin, never one to shy from assertive declarations, stated unequivocally that any Western troops in Ukraine would be considered fair targets. This chilling declaration ratchets up the stakes dramatically, drawing a clear red line and underscoring the perilous dance of brinkmanship that continues to define this brutal conflict. It forces us to confront the very real and immediate dangers of miscalculation and the potential for a localized war to rapidly spiral into something far more devastating, reshaping the global order in ways we can scarcely imagine. Our journey through the headlines now takes us to the frontiers of human knowledge and the profound challenges facing our planet, delving into the realms of science and environment. This week, the venerable NASA InSight mission provided us with new, breathtaking seismic data from the interior of Mars. This isn't just about rocks and tremors, it's about unlocking the deep geological history of another world, offering unprecedented insights into planetary formation and evolution. By studying the Martian core and mantle, scientists are piecing together a cosmic puzzle, helping us understand not only our red neighbor, but also, by extension, the fiery heart of our own Earth. Such discoveries challenge our anthropocentric biases, reminding us that we are but a small part of a vast and dynamic cosmos, and that the laws of physics and geology operate on scales both grand and microscopic across the universe. It invites a sense of wonder and intellectual humility, urging us to continue our relentless quest to understand the mechanisms that shape worlds. Simultaneously, a groundbreaking study this week dramatically reshaped our understanding of solar flares. Researchers revealed that these powerful eruptions from the sun are significantly hotter than previously thought, reaching temperatures that defy our current models. This finding has profound implications not just for astrophysics, but also for our technologically dependent world. Solar flares, when powerful enough, can disrupt satellite communications, power grids, and even pose risks to astronauts. A more accurate understanding of their true intensity is crucial for developing better predictive models and protective measures. It highlights the delicate balance of our existence, nestled within a cosmic environment that is far more energetic and potentially hazardous than we often realize. This is not merely academic, it is a critical piece of the puzzle for future space exploration, and indeed for the resilience of our modern infrastructure here on Earth. And then, we turn our gaze to a stark and undeniable manifestation of our planet's changing climate. The massive iceberg A23A, a behemoth that has held its ground for decades, has now begun breaking apart in warmer waters. This isn't just an isolated incident, it's a potent symbol, a visceral reminder of the undeniable warming trend that is reshaping our polar regions. Iceberg A23A, once the largest iceberg in the world, is a natural monument to the forces of cold and time. Its fragmentation is a powerful visual metaphor for the accelerating pace of climate change and the irreversible transformations occurring in our natural world. What were once abstract scientific predictions are now tangible, observable phenomena impacting ecosystems and sea levels globally. This event forces us to confront the profound consequences of our actions and to consider the ethical imperative we have to future generations. Are we merely passive observers of this planetary shift, or do we possess the collective will to alter our course? The urgency of this question is underscored by the unfolding tragedy in the Middle East. An Israeli airstrike on Nasser Hospital in Gaza killed 22 people, including 5 journalists. This devastating incident immediately raised profound questions about the rationale behind the attack, its proportionality, and its adherence to international laws of armed conflict. Hospitals, as centers of healing and refuge, are afforded special protection under international humanitarian law. Any attack on such a facility, especially one resulting in such a high civilian casualty count, demands rigorous scrutiny and accountability. It highlights the agonizing moral quandaries inherent in modern warfare, where the distinction between combatant and non-combatant often blurs, and where the human cost of conflict is borne most heavily by the innocent. Compounding this tragedy, conditions in Gaza continued to worsen, with critical aid deliveries blocked, exacerbating an already dire humanitarian crisis. When essential food, water, and medical supplies are deliberately obstructed, it constitutes not just a failure of logistics, but a moral failing of the international community. The blockades deepen the suffering, push populations towards the brink of famine and disease, and contribute to a cycle of despair that fuels further instability. Against this backdrop of escalating human suffering, the diplomatic maneuvers of France and Canada to recognize Palestine at the United Nations take on immense significance. This move, while symbolic in many ways, represents a powerful statement on the international stage, challenging the existing geopolitical inertia and signaling a growing international consensus that a viable, independent Palestinian state is essential for any lasting peace. It embodies a struggle for recognition, for justice, and for the fundamental right of a people to self-determination, set against a grim backdrop of violence and humanitarian catastrophe. We now pivot from the urgent geopolitical and environmental shifts to the vibrant, often chaotic kaleidoscope of entertainment and culture, a realm that, while seeming lighter, often reflects the deepest currents of our collective consciousness. This week, the 2025 MTV Video Music Awards offered a fascinating study in enduring legacy versus fleeting fame. Honors were bestowed upon 2 titans, Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness, whose career spans decades of rock and roll rebellion and reinvention, and Mariah Carey, the undisputed Queen of Christmas and vocal acrobatics, whose influence on pop music is immeasurable. Their recognition at an awards show, often criticized for catering to the latest fleeting trends, speaks volumes. It's a testament to the power of artistic longevity, to a sustained, authentic voice that cuts through the noise of manufactured pop and leaves an indelible mark. What does it tell us about our hunger for true artistry, for figures who define generations, in an era where fame is often instantaneous and equally ephemeral? It suggests that while we crave novelty, there's an undeniable gravitational pull toward those who have built a body of work that withstands the test of time, whose very presence embodies the history of a genre. In stark contrast, yet within the same cultural sphere, the world mourned the passing of fashion icon Giorgio Armani at 91. Armani was not just a designer. He was an architect of elegance, a master of understated luxury, who defined an aesthetic that transcended trends and spoke to a deeper sense of sophisticated self-presentation. His legacy is one of timelessness, of impeccable tailoring and an unwavering vision that shaped how millions dressed and perceived themselves. His passing marks the end of an era, a reminder that true style, unlike fast fashion, is built on principles of enduring quality and thoughtful design. This contrasts sharply with the week's other viral cultural phenomenon, the rise of L'Appartement 4F, a Brooklyn bakery that gained widespread attention for its croissant cereal. Here, we see the modern amplification machine at work. A novel, visually appealing concept, perfectly suited for social media virality, exploded into the collective consciousness. It is a brilliant example of entrepreneurial creativity meeting the digital zeitgeist, but it also raises a crucial question about the nature of cultural impact. Is viral fame, however widespread, equivalent to the foundational influence of an Armani or the lasting impact of a Mariah Carey? The croissant cereal is delightful and innovative, but does it contribute to the cultural fabric in the same way as a groundbreaking album or a redefining fashion collection? This dialectic between the enduring and the ephemeral, between profound influence and immediate gratification, is a defining tension of our digital age. However, to dwell solely on the glitz and viral buzz would be to ignore the profound and often brutal realities that punctuate our shared human experience, reminding us of the fragility of life and the ever-present shadow of tragedy. This past week saw two devastating events that ripped through communities and touched the collective conscience. In Lisbon, a funicular accident claimed 16 lives, prompting a national day of mourning. Such an event, sudden and catastrophic, forces us to confront the inherent risks of daily life, the thin veil that separates routine from disaster. The collective grief of a nation for such a localized, shocking event speaks to the shared humanity that binds us, to the profound sorrow that erupts when lives are unexpectedly cut short, leaving behind an unbearable void. On a far grander yet equally heartbreaking scale, a major earthquake in Afghanistan killed over 2,200 people. This natural disaster, of immense proportions, underscores the vulnerability of human communities, particularly those in already fragile regions, to the indiscriminate forces of nature. The sheer scale of loss, the immediate need for aid, and the long-term struggle for recovery in a nation already grappling with profound socio-political challenges present a stark and somber contrast to the curated world of entertainment. These events remind us that beneath the shimmering surface of celebrity and digital trends, there exists a raw, unfiltered reality of suffering and resilience. Finally, even in the realm of sport, the complexities of human behavior and societal expectation found their expression. The National Football League season kicked off, a cultural ritual for millions, but it was immediately overshadowed by controversy surrounding player conduct within the Philadelphia Eagles organization. This is a recurring theme in modern sports. The heroes we elevate on the field are often fallible individuals off it. This tension between the idealized image of the athlete and their human imperfections forces us to grapple with our own expectations, with the moral responsibilities of those who occupy the public spotlight, and with the accountability of the institutions that house them. It's a microcosm of a larger societal debate about celebrity, virtue, and the often uncomfortable intersection of entertainment and ethics. Finally, we conclude our journey through the significant events of this week by examining a cluster of notable occurrences that, while diverse in nature, collectively illuminate the enduring complexities of human existence, our vulnerability, our resilience, and the often uneasy intersection of public spectacle and private morality. This past week, the serene city of Lisbon was gripped by profound sorrow when a funicular accident tragically claimed the lives of 16 people. This wasn't a natural disaster of epic scale, nor a conflict zone tragedy, but a sudden, unexpected failure of infrastructure, a mundane mechanism of urban transit that betrayed its trust. The national day of mourning that followed was more than just a formal gesture. It was a visceral expression of collective grief, a societal recognition of the fragile line between routine and catastrophe. Psychologically, such an event is deeply unsettling because it shatters our illusion of control, our tacit agreement that the systems designed to transport us, to keep us safe, will largely hold. It forces us to confront the inherent unpredictability of life, reminding us that even in our most advanced societies, the unexpected can strike with chilling speed. Philosophically, it echoes the ancient Greek concept of tyche, or fate, reminding us that randomness and chance play a significant, often brutal role in our lives. How do we, as individuals and as a society, process such arbitrary loss? How do we rebuild trust in the structures that underpin our daily lives when they prove fallible? These questions resonate deeply, urging us to find meaning and solidarity in the face of senseless tragedy. Tragedy of a different, yet equally devastating, magnitude unfolded in Afghanistan, where a major earthquake claimed the lives of over 2,200 people. Here we witness the brutal, indifferent power of nature, a force that transcends all human boundaries and political divides. Unlike the funicular accident, which implies a human or systemic failure, the earthquake is a raw display of planetary forces, a reminder of our smallness in the face of geological upheaval. Yet, the human element becomes paramount in the aftermath. The desperate struggle for survival, the search for loved ones beneath the rubble, and the overwhelming need for humanitarian aid. This event, occurring in a nation already burdened by decades of conflict, poverty, and political instability, highlights a profound ethical dilemma. While the world may turn its gaze to more sensational headlines, the silent suffering in Afghanistan continues, exacerbated by the scale of this natural disaster. It forces us to ask about our global responsibility. How do we extend compassion and practical support to communities thousands of miles away, particularly when they exist outside the immediate spotlight of global media? Is our empathy a finite resource, exhausted by a constant stream of crises, or can we cultivate a deeper, more sustained commitment to alleviate suffering wherever it occurs? The earthquake in Afghanistan serves as a poignant reminder that while our technologies advance and our economies fluctuate, the fundamental human struggle against adversity and the imperative of mutual aid remain timeless. Finally, we turn to the realm of spectacle where the National Football League season kicked off, a cultural ritual for millions, but not without its own distinct brand of controversy. The Philadelphia Eagles, a team revered by its passionate fan base, found itself embroiled in questions surrounding player conduct. This is a recurring theme in modern sports and entertainment, the tension between the mythic status we confer upon our athletic heroes and the undeniable, often messy reality of their human fallibility. Culturally, we invest so much in our sports stars, projecting onto them ideals of strength, discipline, and moral uprightness. When that image is tarnished by accusations of misconduct, it creates a sense of disillusionment, a crack in the carefully constructed facade. Psychologically, this challenges our need for heroes, for figures who embody aspirational qualities. But it also presents an opportunity for critical reflection. Are we too quick to deify and then too quick to condemn, without understanding the complex pressures and realities faced by individuals in the public eye? And what is the responsibility of powerful institutions like the National Football League to not only address misconduct, but to foster environments that prioritize ethical behavior and accountability? This controversy, while seemingly minor when juxtaposed against earthquakes and international conflicts, speaks to our ongoing societal wrestling match with celebrity, moral expectations, and the uncomfortable truth that even our idols are, at their core, deeply human. As we draw this episode to a close, we have traversed a landscape brimming with contradictions, challenges, and moments of profound human insight. We began by questioning the very nature of modern connection, and through the lens of this week's headlines, we have seen that paradox play out in myriad ways. From the economic fragility of the United States of America, where a struggling labor market meets aggressive immigration enforcement, we see the tension between policy and human need, demanding that we look beyond simple narratives to understand the intricate web of cause and effect. This economic uncertainty, coupled with the profound diplomatic tensions arising from the immigration and customs enforcement raids, forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about national identity, labor, and international relations in a rapidly shifting world. We then navigated the turbulent waters of health policy, where the very foundations of scientific consensus and institutional trust are being tested. The contentious Senate hearing involving Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., alongside the turmoil within the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, highlights a deep-seated crisis of authority and a struggle for truth in the public square. Yet, amidst this, new research into the therapeutic potential of lysergic acid diethylamide for anxiety offers a glimpse of radical hope, challenging long-held prejudices and reminding us that progress often comes from unexpected directions. Simultaneously, the global stage witnessed a stark reordering of power, with President Trump's declaration that India and Russia were lost to China, signaling a multipolar future. The escalating rhetoric around Ukraine, with Russian President Putin's chilling declaration of Western troops as fair targets, underscores the precarious balance of power and the constant threat of wider conflict. Our exploration further led us to the grand narratives of science and the stark realities of our changing environment. NASA's InSight mission provides a breathtaking cosmic perspective, unraveling the geological secrets of Mars, while a new study on solar flares reminds us of the raw, untamed power of our own star. Juxtaposed against these scientific marvels is the poignant image of the massive iceberg A23A breaking apart, a visceral symbol of climate change's relentless advance. The devastating Israeli airstrike on Nasser Hospital in Gaza, killing 22, including 5 journalists, and the ongoing blockades of aid, laid bare the harrowing human cost of conflict and the desperate need for humanitarian intervention. The diplomatic efforts of France and Canada to recognize Palestine at the United Nations reflect a growing international pressure to find a just and lasting peace in a region scarred by generations of violence. Finally, in the vibrant tapestry of entertainment and culture, we observe the interplay between enduring legacy, seen in the honors for Ozzy Osbourne and Mariah Carey, and the fleeting viral sensation of the Brooklyn croissant cereal. The passing of Giorgio Armani reminds us of the profound impact of timeless vision, while the tragic funicular accident in Lisbon and the devastating earthquake in Afghanistan brought us back to the stark realities of human vulnerability and the imperative of collective grief and aid. Even the kickoff of the National Football League season, a source of national celebration, was tinged with controversy over player conduct, reflecting our complex societal expectations of our heroes. What emerges from this week's headlines, then, is not a simple picture, but a deeply textured one. It is a world where trust in institutions is eroding, where geopolitical alignments are shifting dramatically, where the urgency of climate change is undeniable, and where human tragedy and resilience stand in stark contrast to the spectacles of popular culture. As the third citizens, we are called not to simply consume these headlines, but to engage with them, to seek understanding in their complexities, and to find our own place in shaping the future. So, as you reflect on what we have discussed today, I leave you with these questions. In an era of fractured trust, how do we discern truth and build meaningful consensus? As global power shifts, what is our individual responsibility to foster peace and understanding across borders? And in the face of both profound global challenges and the allure of digital distraction, how do we cultivate the clarity, depth, and courage needed to live intentionally and engage meaningfully with the world around us? We invite your thoughts and reflections. This journey through the week's headlines, from the quiet contractions of the United States of America's job market to the seismic shifts beneath Mars, and from the tragic whispers of Lisbon to the loud declarations on the global stage, reminds us just how interconnected and yet fragmented our world can be. It's a lot to absorb, to process, and to truly feel. So, as we bring this episode of The Third Citizen to a close, I'd genuinely love to hear from you. Considering the sheer breadth of events we've discussed today, from a major iceberg breaking apart to a funicular accident, from deep geopolitical realignments to the therapeutic potential of new discoveries, which single story or theme from this week resonated most profoundly with you? Did it spark a new question, challenge an old assumption, or perhaps even change how you see your own place in this complex tapestry? Please share your insights and reflections in the comments below. Your perspective is what truly enriches this conversation and helps us all to think more clearly and live with greater depth. If this exploration has offered you a fresh lens through which to view the world, please consider giving us a like, subscribing for more deep dives, and sharing this episode with another citizen who refuses to live on autopilot. Until next time, keep your minds open, your questions sharp, and your engagement with the world courageous.